Hi everyone. So I'm going to take a moment and I'm going to have a little peek into what I'm working on in the studio. And the reason is because we're talking about abstract mark making for a few weeks and what it's really like to kind of look at a blank canvas and start to find the forms in your work. This can be very liberating, but this can also be very scary for those who have not taken the opportunity to do this. One of the nice things about using objects to paint is that it gives you this point of reference and that you feel there's this kind of sense of right and wrong. Am I making things look like what I see? There's a way to kind of check your work in the sense that you're double checking your accuracy based on what you see in front of you, so on and so forth. When you are truly working abstractly, I mean, anything really goes, but there's still this feeling of, is it good or bad? This works, this doesn't. And you can kind of sense it. It's almost an internal gut feeling that takes you there. Me personally, I like to work in both modalities. That is partially because I like the way that it challenges me. So the challenge for the technique when working from objects, and then the feeling that I get when I'm trying to find a form on the canvas. This triggers something else in my subconscious and also triggers other parts of my painting technique. What I have behind me and what I'll turn the camera around and I'll walk you through, but I'm actually doing a series on bed sheets. I'm gonna talk a little bit about those surfaces. It's kind of tricky, it's a little bit different than canvas. I've done a few different versions of this and again, you can kind of see here. I've done a few different versions of this and some were stretched on actual canvas, and then these are actually pillowcases. And then this is an actual bed sheet here. And this is kind of an alternative surface to work on, and it gives a completely different feeling. It's not nearly as forgiving as canvas, but I'll kind of turn this around and talk to you about the thought and the process there. I'm also going to bring out some older work of mine that is purely abstract and walk you through some of the thoughts that I have, like maybe things that are good and bad with those compositions, just after I finish them and from a formal critique, or like kind of from a formal viewpoint. Okay, let me turn the camera around. So I'm gonna kind of take you on a little video tour. What I'm working on is, again, these are pillowcases, and over here are going to be bedsheet paintings. Now you can see the way I have to put plastic behind this, because when I gesso them, they're very thin, they're very transparent, and so they'll actually stick to the wall. That idea of getting a smooth surface is really kind of gotta let that go to the wayside, but 1 to 2 coats of gesso will make them pretty stiff. Some of the first layers that I'm using on them just to lay down color is acrylic. And so you can see my painting station there. I'm kind of having fun with some of the first layers, not really worried about the palette, and using up some old paint there, okay? Here, I feel like this is kind of round 1, okay, where I started to really let loose. My first iteration, which is covered, looked very, very kind of like the illustration of a face. This, I started to feel like I was finding it, and there's kind of a light coming through here, so you really feel there's like a depth just based on the contrast of value and a little bit with the color as well. So it's very subtle, it's coming out. This isn't as resolved compositionally because it's not really sure what's going to happen here, and so this one has a lot of discovery that still has to happen. The idea with all of these are going to be some kind of heads, arms, and repose, because these are the pillowcases. So I'm kind of playing around with that idea where you put your head, right? This one, to me, very successful. I just need a little bit more work to go, but this is me covering up the first iteration that didn't work. So as I say, it is abstract, where you can see it's abstract imagery. So it is a figure, but that figure is not an observed figure, and there's a bit of a dreaminess. This one, until you look close, you can't really see the silhouette, so it's highly more abstract. I could actually even over here just continue with mark making until forms come out. You can see up on the wall, I'm gonna put this down for a second and bring this up a little bit. You can see here, these are de Kooning references. This is Elaine de Kooning, not Willem de Kooning. It's a little upside down right there. But I'm really thinking about Elaine de Kooning as I'm working on this process. I also wanted to bring out, I'm just gonna hold these in front. This is kind of how this all starts, okay? You can see it's a very stiff and gessoed pillowcase. I have to make sure to put plastic in between here so that they don't stick together. And I think when they're done, I'll actually take some stuff and make it kind of sit out like a pillow. And maybe even, again, this is abstract exploration, so I might even actually take that and have it be at the top of that, and that would be kind of a fun juxtaposition. So they're actually beds that I put together. Okay, so that really gives you an idea of kind of some of the process of what I'm working on here. This is a brand new experimental series, and like I said, I'm really channeling Elaine de Kooning because I'm trying to make marks and find the bodies in those marks. I have done a ton of figurative painting in my life. I'm very comfortable with it, but the goal here is not to render a figure as one would see it, but to embody it. And so I'm trying to think of those forms and let myself be a little bit more free in it. Sometimes that actually feels more to me like the chaos and the feeling of a form rather than that typical rendering. Okay, so I'm gonna pick up a couple of pieces that are mixed media, abstract mark making, some series that I've worked on over the years, just little snippets of them, and kind of describe to you what was going on there and again, how it informs over your life as an artist. You're going to have many series. You might change directions, but I do strongly believe that one thing will inform the other at any given time. So I'm going to go ahead and grab some of those. I'm going to grab those from behind me, and then I'll walk you through those. Okay, the first one was from a few years back. The reason I bring this back, and the form is very visible here, right? Very simplified, but there's a lot of structure, okay? The reason that I brought this one up is because it's very similar to what's going on with the bed sheet and the body paintings here. Because I'm working with, if you can see up close, it's canvas on canvas. And I've used glue, charcoal, acrylic paint, a little iridescence. So it's really that mixed media feeling. It can go a couple of different directions. So it's supposed to be a very sensual piece, but also make you with that eye there, because that's coming from an actual blanket, kind of that primal feeling. And I'm using the textures of both the canvas and the charcoal to convey that, not just the imagery itself. It's very similar to my thought process with what's going on here, but I did still use some images or reference imagery. I did not find the image in the same way as I'm going to with these on the canvas, okay? So let me move over to these. These are purely done with abstract buildup, okay? And I'm thinking more of landscape when I was working on these, but there's a certain amount of layering. So what I've done here, the experiments that were made and the blending layers underneath, really it's kind of an idea of what do you leave and what do you take away, right? And so sometimes when you're working in this abstract layered process, you have to think to yourself, do I really need to cover it? Do I really need to paint it over? Is it necessary? So it's kind of holding back. That will help you here, okay? So you can see this was a nice little passage. I actually added the dots kind of like a galaxy after. This is acrylic at the base and then oil on top, okay? The last one that I want to show you, it's a little painting show and tell. So the last one I want to show you is this one. Can make sure the camera's a little reversed, but you got it there. This one is purely form and mark making. It's actually painted over a landscape that was started, but I didn't really like it. So I decided on this one that I was just gonna move the brush around and release that need for structural forms and really think about line. And I'm thinking about line. I got this beautiful kind of spaced congestion areas where the canvas is left. Movement, again, a lot of times I do use pastel or charcoal on the canvas along with, this is all oil paint, and allow that, because sometimes that really fine use of the fine charcoal, it gets lines and textures and feelings that the paintbrush doesn't always get. you know, then going in, finding where shape, and maybe it's almost kind of a doodle in a way. And this feels to me like it's an organic part of even maybe a landscape that's building out of this area. So there's a lot of energy here. And then I did leave that wash in the back, that really light wash, almost like it's kind of northern lights. Okay, so and even though it's very abstract, I feel like in a lot of ways it puts you into a place. Okay. So that is just a couple ideas on how you can work with imagery and mark making surface. So you can see that sometimes I cut up canvas and put it back together. I work on alternate surfaces like bed sheets. You can also work with paper. You can put charcoal on canvas. You can put pastel with oil paint with acrylic paint, okay? Remember, if you're using acrylics and oils and you're layering them, you need to use acrylics first and then oil second, okay? You can't go the other way around. But you can at any time put that charcoal or that pastel in there. You can dig a pencil in and scratch. I think I showed you in my studio tour at one point, but I'll grab it again. You know, a lot of times I have I have my regular brushes and things like that, but I have fun little utensils that I use to paint that are not traditional, and they can move the paint around and give kind of a different feeling, okay? For some of you, this is just gonna feel like, hey, that is what I needed with my work. I really, really, really needed this in my life. I needed to open up and I needed to be more expressive. For some of you, this is gonna be scary and you're just gonna, I need objects again. But you're gonna find that if you open yourself up and let the brush, you know, the color fly and the brush fly, that if your preference, let's say, is to, you know, paint a still life, paint a portrait, paint landscapes, or anything along those lines. Maybe you do more surreal imagery. This is going to help you, because even if you're observing an object, it is still a work of fiction, okay? You're not taking a photo and just sitting with the photo. You're actually looking at objects and you are extracting your version of them, okay? So really this kind of leap, even if it stretches you a lot farther than you normally go, is gonna take you back to where you're comfortable and you're gonna see things in a different way. Okay, so that is all for now. Please let me know if you have any questions about my process. I'm just really kind of almost doing like a studio tour type thing, or this is what's going on right now. But if you do have questions about how I prepare the surfaces, what colors am I, like what kind of paint am I using, what kind of struggles have I found with this, what are the highs and the lows, you can just feel free to reply in the YouTube. You can reply there on the channel. If you are with me and you're my student, you're my emeritus, and you are in Canvas, I'm going to post this to an announcement and you can reply there. Or, you know, again, just message me. That's fine as well. Okay, happy painting.